guy who could fire them, looking over their shoulder. And right now, he's running for governor. He's not going to put his ass on the line for these people. In fact, he may, eventually I'm going to go to him and say, okay, now you have proof of a crime. You're the Attorney General. If you don't act on this, you're covering up corruption in the courts in Ulster County. For him right now, it's a win-win situation if he takes my back, because I've proven criminal activity by the police and the prosecutor. And if the judge goes further, I got criminal activity on him. And I know the judge, at this point, this judge, who's a hanging judge, I've watched him, people come in and they make a deal with the prosecutor. Well, the prosecutor agreed that I'm just going to do a year. This judge is such a prick. He goes, well, you made the deal with the prosecutor. You didn't make that deal with me. I'm going to give you 3. And everybody, he's harder on people, even when they make deals. He backs off the deals and gives them more sentence. What? In my case, he gave me and Jay. He was willing to give me and Jay a lighter sentence than he's allowed to give.
And what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing is that, you know, you're citing a lot of rules, and you're citing a lot of opportunity for them to, you know, it's almost like you're saying that they have to follow all their own rules. And what I'm concerned about is, what if they, and I'm sure that you're right, that they didn't follow rules. I know that that is a common thing with law enforcement and judges and things like that. But then there's the situation where the public is going to see this, you know, in some way, and there's this level of mistrust. And of course, with corruption and lying, there's a trickle-down effect. How many more people have those particular people lied about? How many more people got hornswoggled in court, but those particular police, that particular judge, this hanging judge, apparently he's got a reputation. Now, if he gets the reputation of being a liar and somebody who just did whatever he wanted to, how many people are going to be up in arms over this?
Well, I'll tell you what. Now that I've proved that these police lied in court, anybody who's had trials before me who claimed that they thought the police lied can resubmit their case for hearing. They can say, wait a minute, I said these cops lied and I got convicted, and now this guy Joe has proven that these cops lie. I want a rehearing of my case.
So another thing that you're saying maybe is, you know, just because something like this might happen to you, it's not a hopeless case necessarily. People do make mistakes, and you just can't just assume that they've got you.
Right.
If you had made that assumption, you would have just taken a plea.
Right, exactly. Had I not been up from lack of sleep, I was 36 hours. So when I went there, I even had a headache, you know, and my head was foggy, and they were making all these threats, and I was a little nervous for Jay. It's normally when you go to court anyway.
Absolutely.
So with all that stress, I was not thinking clearly. And normally I can read people's body actions, and I can just read people, you know. But I was so unclear. I noticed they were nervous, but I didn't know why. And had I been clear-headed, I'd have said, Joe, you've got them. Look at how they're acting. They're scurrying around like mice that don't know what they're doing.
They were hoping that they wouldn't have to justify what they just spent that last 18 months doing.
Right. And not just that they wouldn't be charged with if I pled guilty, then I couldn't charge them with criminal charges. So that's why they were pushing so hard to make me take the plea. And even willing to offer me a plea that the judge said in open court, never in all my time have I given a sentence like this.
I challenge you to get the transcript of that and see if that's still in there. And just get a feel for what the judge is striking from those records. I think that would be an excellent thing to do. If it's not too expensive, it would be an excellent thing to see what is being taken
front of the judge and types every bit of the testimony. When you say something, she types it. When the judge says something, she types it. It's all on court record.
Yes, but the judge, at least here in Canada, the judge has apparently full say over what gets released.
Yeah, well, down here, the person who subscribes it is not a member of the court. It's like a separate little group, and they move them around from court to court so that they don't. It's not like one judge has this person under them that they can control.
Sure.
And all those people take an oath to make sure that what they give is accurate and honest.
Well, I wouldn't put much faith in any oath, but I'll say that if it's a third party, that's a little better than having in-house, stenographers.
Right.
It's a little better. It's not a perfect system. I mean, look at all the people that take oath all around us, and what good is it?
Yeah. Another wild thing, when the cops were on the stand, and my son was talking to him, my son said to him, if you didn't have a warrant when you came on the property, and you say you didn't see the no trespassing signs, which are huge, they're big, you can't miss them, right? He said, if you had seen the signs to the cop, would you still have trespassed? And the cop was so stupid, he said yes.
Yeah, so he set himself up for something he's going to do later on as well.
Which shows that the law means nothing to him, that no trespassing signs mean nothing. He thinks because he's got a badge, he's above the law.
And that's the color of law thing, is that illusion that people think that because you're a cop, you can do whatever you want, somehow you're going to get away with it, so whatever. Go along with it.
Right. You think that it's legal because you have a badge to break the law.
Yeah.
And he actually, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it when he answered yes.
I think the layman term for that is power trip.
Yeah, it shocked me. I mean, I thought this cop is going to be smart enough not to answer this with a yes, to say, well, if I had seen the signs, I would have went and got a warrant, you know? But he didn't. He's so arrogant, he said, yeah, if I'd have seen the no trespassing signs, I still would have done it.
Yeah. Well, that's not, I don't think that bodes well for them. I'm not an attorney, obviously, in a U.S. court, but I would say that's pretty much admitting that you're not even willing to follow your own rules. Right, not willing to follow the rules. So, therefore, you're not, like when a cop acts beyond his, a cop has a certain, when they talk jurisdiction. If he's within his legal authority, he has jurisdiction. Once he steps beyond that line, he no longer has jurisdiction. He's not acting as in his official capacity. He's acting as a criminal. Yeah. Sounds like he's a very honest liar. Yeah. It was, it was. I would have known not. I would have said no if I saw those signs. I would not have. But since I didn't see the signs, I thought it was okay. He could have covered his ass that way and made it look like an honest mistake. Yeah. But when he said the signs didn't matter, if I had seen them, I would have done it anyway. It looks more like a witch hunt in that respect. Right. Which puts it, it makes it a personal thing. You got it. To some extent, it makes it a personal thing against you. And we asked them, we asked them on the stand, did you know that we formed a political party called the Freedom First Party? And they said yes. And we asked them, did you know we were involved with CAMP, that's Citizens Against Marijuana Prohibition? And they said yes. So now it looks like because of our political activities, because we were trying to legalize marijuana, they specifically were out to get us. That's selective prosecution. Yeah. They're not allowed to say, well, we don't care what these other people are doing.
that are making noise over here, that are trying to get it legalized, they're the ones we're going to bust.
Yeah, and that does happen. That's happened here a number of times, just to Rick alone.
Right.
I mean, and it makes sense that it happens that way. I mean, what's the population of Woodstock? What are you dealing with there as a community?
I don't know. I'd say maybe 50,000 people.
A number of those are, so if it's a hippie town, I'm not judging Woodstock, but I would say if you say it's a hippie town, there must be a high number of drug charges in that town alone.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Well, maybe you'll be setting the precedent for all the people
And
that are
the local
under the thumb.
The local judges here in Woodstock, they even smoke. And most of the time when marijuana charges come before the local Woodstock judge, they let them go. They give them fucking, do some work for the community service for a little while. They hardly do anything. But the county we're in is Ulster County. Now that courthouse is Kingston. That's where I'm going to court, in the county courthouse. If I went before this local judge, he knows me. He gets high. He would have fucking threw this case out. Or at the worst, gave us a little slap on the wrist and told us to go away. You know? But the county courthouse, and because this urgent strike team, which is like a gang, they're a bunch of gangsters, man, and they spy on people. They're out looking to bust people. They're constantly seeking and searching and spying and to get people. The local cops in Woodstock, they know half the fucking town is getting high. The judges are getting high. Woodstock has one of the highest group of rich people. Woodstock, half the people in Woodstock are mega rich. They're rock stars, they're actresses, they're producers, they're writers, they're artists, and the other half are stone cold just hippies, regular, they don't have much of a pot to piss in. They're straining to pay the rent, and so it's a very crazy community.
You know what kind
half the people are mega rich. The other half are just down and out, or not. I won't say down and out, but they're hippies. But when you see them on the street, you can't tell the rich people from the hippies.
No, but say down and out, because there's a lot of poverty up there, and I'm concerned about where that marijuana went, because now that I'm learning, I've learned so much in the last couple of weeks. People who really understand what the good stuff is have taken good care of it, and they know how to make the medicine that will cure. That's what Rick's concern was, is that if bad oil gets on the market, I mean, just because you have a bunch of money, you can buy some crappy stuff. It's $7,500 down here in New York. I had a dealer in the room. I had a guy with prostate cancer, and he wanted $7,500, and the guy didn't have $7,500. But who knows? Even if he gave him $7,500, maybe it wouldn't be good. Maybe it wouldn't work. But if they knew they got it from your house and they settled this case and you didn't get it back, maybe by having you take the plea and not wanting to go back on the plea, maybe some people who were sort of plugged into these illegal thug mafia, worse than mafia channels, they get the medicine and they go, the heck with everybody else. We don't care if the pharmaceuticals want to sell their bad stuff. We're not going to go to Sloan Kettering and pay $120,000. We don't even have to buy health insurance because we're rich enough that if we needed anything, we could get anything. But in truth, all we need is a pound of really, really good stuff.
Well, that's what Rick was saying on my movie there.
Yes, you were.
We got the money, we got the big cars, we got the big bank accounts. What the heck do we care if the poor people don't have it?
Right.
Can you guys talk to each other just for a couple minutes? Because most of this conversation I've had to pee, and I really got to pee.
Throw it in a bottle, though.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
No, Christian, you were brilliant the way you did that. That's why I like watching the movie again and again. I always learn. Even my own stuff that I've edited a bunch of times, I can't believe things I've missed on the first, second, and third pass.
I think the points we're making here are good ones, and I'd like to find out what Joe's feeling is right now, and then ask him again later, after something else has transpired.
Well, this whole thing is like such a yo-yo journey. I mean, he was really gloomy before the 9th, really expecting that they were going to not allow him to defend himself. I mean, I have it all down there. That's why I'm saying I've now got like 5 different tapes, and I know a lot of people don't have patience to listen to it all. It sounds boring legal stuff, but this is the mechanics of healing. The great work, the ancient wisdom, law, religion, and philosophy, it was all one study.
I think everything we're doing is important, and I think that it's valuable to everybody. I mean, I've seen so many comments on YouTube, and I've gotten emails myself telling me how important the work that you are doing and me. And a couple people from YouTube are putting together videos, and we're kind of championing this movement right now for people who are too scared right now to come forward. I know we're in contact right now with a gentleman who is kind of on the fence.
I know.
And I'm thinking,
And along those lines, another thing that breaks my heart, but I don't know, it doesn't break my heart, I'm wising up, is that the cannabis stigma is so intense that the full study of economics, which Louis Kelso said has never even begun, the real study of economics, I thought once the economists, the champions of binary, understood that marijuana could be the issue, they backed way off. They didn't want to be associated. So now I got to do some workaround solutions. Maybe when I go live, I'll put this material out and then open up the cameras to open up the phone lines to the Manhattan audience, and also see if I can get not only call-ins but walk-ins. Maybe if people actually physically see other people there, they'll start to ask the tough questions, because when you're going to go jury as opposed to Supreme Court as the final determiner of the law of the land, then people have to start really sitting down on their butts and studying. Like, I've got a couple annoying commenters that keep saying, oh, Simoncini this and that, but they haven't really read it. And that's when I get discouraged, when I feel like I'm treated like entertainment. I mean, it's not that people... That's all they've been educated to do, is to somehow squeak through high school. Even if they get in college, maybe even especially if they get a PhD, they're so trained and conditioned. There's no spontaneity of thought.
Oh, and I made a comment in defense of you, actually, on one of those pages. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's so annoying. I get so annoyed because I say you haven't done the research, and like Jane Goldberg said, if you're dealing with terminal patients, they die. If they do this chemo and radiation, then you go, well, that's what, because we're slaves, we slavishly accept that people die with chemo and radiation. We don't see that they were killed in terms of the evidence having been suppressed, and it's so unbelievable, but you have to take the time to study this to understand it. And that's why I think people are holding on to their reality when they say, oh, Paula Gloria, you can't believe that you might be wrong. And I'm saying, look at the evidence, read the papers, the studies, and then let's have a discussion point by point. Just don't say you're arrogant and you don't think you're wrong.
I'm back.
I agree. No, I agree totally with what you're saying. And I think the point that I made is, if I had gone with my gut feeling that day, that moment that somebody said to me, I met a man who said he's curing cancer with some kind of hemp oil, I said, you're nuts. And if I hadn't opened my mind long enough to say, Rick, what the heck are you doing?
Right.
None of us would be having this conversation. This wouldn't be happening.
Right.
And it's because I wouldn't let that snap judgment of that can't be right because it sounds so stupid.
Right.
That's the thing that people need to tear down. It's like so many things happening that we're so blind. We got blinders on to what's going on because it's what is pushed in front of us.
No, it's not blinders. We've been conditioned and programmed by people who knew how to lie. And like, do you know when Hitler was doing his thing, his chief minister, his propaganda minister, I forget his name, told Hitler, lies. And Hitler said, those are lies. People are going to know. And he said to him, if you tell a lie often enough and in enough places, it becomes the truth.
No, what he said is, if you're going to tell a lie, tell a big one.
Yeah, yeah.
No, he said, I read the thing. He said that too.
Yeah.
He told Hitler, if you tell a lie enough and in enough places, just like how our government does it, they don't just tell a lie, they get a bunch of scientists or so-called intellectual PhD type people to tell the lie. Therefore, if educated people are telling the lie, the uneducated people assume that it must be the truth.
Yeah, and that brings us to another quote that I was actually looking at the other day. I'm trying to find it in reference to Stephen Harper. I think it's very poignant in reference to the people you're dealing with. And the quote is from Hitler, and it says, how fortunate for leaders that men do not think.
Yeah.
Well, if you're just constantly being bombarded with something and you go about your day as if it doesn't affect you, and meanwhile things are being changed behind your back, eventually you're going to be the one tied up.
But you know, the other thing is, if people just knew the joy of freedom, of what it feels like to just spread your wings and fly and soar, it's not like it's a drag. Jesus said, you know, my yoke is light. It's, you know, when you think doing the right thing, like it's got to be a drag. It's, you know, for me, the moment happened when Nico Haupt introduced me to the no planes theory. That was the moment when I shifted, and it was as liberating as leaving a cult. Not that, you know, when I was in the TM cult, not that it you know, it had its high moments, but when you write your own ticket, when you go your own way, then you can take everything that you gain from every cult or anything that was restricting your thought, because at the time you kind of, maybe you needed that restriction. You can take goodness from every experience that you've had, and you can make it your own. It's a wonderful thing to come in front of the cameras to explore. And the people who are, you know, ragging on me, saying, how do you know you're so right? If they just knew that if they read a book or if they studied, it wouldn't be a drag to study. And then enter in the discussion. I welcome people to discuss, to challenge. It's a good thing to challenge. That's why my prank callers, they actually, in order to set up a really funny thing that Howard Stern would take, they had to pay attention to me. And, you know, to follow the argument to make me goof up in a funny way. But what was good was they paid attention sometimes better than the people who liked me and who were following me and just wanted sort of a hit off my show. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. They had to pay better attention because they had to be able to engage you, to fool you.
Yes. And the material that I was putting forward was so provocative that I knew a lot of people that were just, you know, mainline New Agers. They were missing the point. And I kept saying Jesus did not resurrect drinking wheatgrass juice. You know, we're talking about a whole different level of spiritual study. And that's why I like to use the word ass-kicking. Real spirituality is as dynamic and as dramatic as the best sex you ever had. But people have spirituality in one category and they've got sex in another category. And if you mix the two, you usually come out with something that doesn't do justice to either. And that's why I keep saying come in front of the cameras, because this isn't just entertainment. And that's why the Kingston trial, I think that's what Rick wanted to do. Rick wanted to get thousands of people to Joe's trial because he realized what had happened to him in his trial was because not enough people knew about it.
If it had gone to trial, if it goes to trial, I definitely would like thousands of people there. But at this point, I don't think they wanted. They tried to stop it from going to trial. They were the ones who they put their witnesses on. Next, it was up to me to put my witnesses on. They didn't even want me to get my witnesses on because they realized that their witnesses fucked up so much. I got another call coming. I'll be right back.
Sure. What kind of local media does Joe have covering this in Woodstock?
Oh, you know, the Woodstock thing was kind of a heartbreaking situation. I should get Abigail Storm on my show to explain that. But they tried to get the original physical ground where the 69 Woodstock, isn't that when Woodstock was, 69?
Yeah. That's what I've always heard. I wasn't around, though.
Okay, you weren't around.
Okay.
You youngster, you?
32. I wasn't quite there. I was 7 years. I was 8 years later.
I know. Well, I was in high school then, but you know, we all dreamed about someday doing something like that, but then it just fizzled out, and then it became a liability. But it seems as though they really cheated, and they stole the physical property away from a widow who owned it. And
Paula,
yeah,
I have to go. Can you call me a little later?
Sure.
And we'll finish up the other thing that we were doing.
Sure. Okay. Okay. See you, Joe.
Okay.
Bye, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank
you, Christian.
Joe. We'll talk again, I'm sure. I wish you all the best, though.
Yeah, and when I get those things from you, the stuff you mailed me, I'll have your address. I'll mail you this piece of paper. You got to read it and even put it up on the website. Everybody should have this information.
Yeah, it should be up on Phoenix Tears. That would be a good place, because that's where people look to make the formulas, and now it'll be the formula of how to get out of court unless you change the marijuana laws.
Okay.
Give that a look over. We'll see. Let's see how it goes, Joe, with your court case, and we'll keep pushing for you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So, Christian, so apparently Abigail really knows about that. She said that there were so many good people that were corrupted to allow some billionaire to come into town to buy up the physical property, illegally taking it away from who should have had it, and ensuring that no real hippies or free concerts go on. And free concerts, the way the free concerts were done, is that in between the music you'd have a political message, so that people, you know, kind of get feeling groovy and expanded and happy listening to good music. And then in that, you know, expanded state, as opposed to some terrified state, because so much of what I see going out on the left liberal media is just beating people up and making them feel guilty and bad and depressed. You don't really make a change. So by having some causes coming on between the bands, you would have the exercise of free speech, and that's what was happening in the 60s.
Right. Well, when did this land get confiscated, before or after the concerts?
Well, first of all, they didn't think that a 20th anniversary would work, so I think it was Joe who sort of spearheaded it, and it did work. When they found out there was music on the old Woodstock site, 20,000 people showed up. And then they began to realize there was money in it, and then the money people got involved, but the money people didn't want it to be free and also wanted to control any political message. Like right now, the Clearwater Festival is coming up next week, and here I am in legitimate alternative people's media. You would think that, you know, I can get media passes for so many places, more places than I have time to go to. So I very rarely exercise, you know, applying for a media pass, because I'm so busy creating the media and responding to my serious viewers. I just don't have time. But the Clearwater Festival I wanted to go to. It's about cleaning up the Hudson, and I can't even get somebody to call me back about it. But it seems as though, and it's $120 for a ticket.
Wow.
And I don't think they have any political message. Now they pride themselves on no political message, like all we do is clean up the Hudson. But that's got to be political, you know, and people probably get interested because it's the politicians' riverfront property. That's my cynical part coming out, or whoever controls the politicians. Because they go, wow, you know, I'm so fucking rich, I think I'm going to clean up the river because, you know, I don't want to smell a smelly river. And so they act like it's the people's movement, but there's so many other issues that could be addressed, and they could be addressed in an elegant way, like if Kelso said, the real study of economics hasn't even started. That, I think, should be on the forefront. I think that's what's necessary in order to make the paradigm change that Joe wants to see made, because I do believe there are so many people who are so invested with the marijuana laws being in place as they are. It's financial.
Is it all financial?
Well, what Louis Kelso said is that finance has not been made available to the common person. This would be an upside to being a corporation. If you're a corporation, then you should be allowed to have corporate credit. So I think what Joe's doing, it sounds really right. We'll see how it pans out. But if people are viewed as a corporation, they should be able to have access to corporate credit, which means that you don't just buy a house on credit, you actually can get a stake in a lucrative corporation, in a business. So when they distribute the wealth, they should distribute it your way. Then you'd never have to be on welfare or food stamps or all these other things that make you feel ashamed like you did something wrong. What's wrong is that
exactly. I know they do that.
Yeah, the labor theory of value is what's wrong. Most of the wealth doesn't come from labor, so it isn't having anything to do with you having a job or that your sense of self-worth is tied up with that job. It's having a stake in capital ownership, and private property is not a bad thing. It's just you need to distribute it more widely. In which case, communism was also a distraction. It never dealt with who owned capital.
Certainly, a lot of angles this could go down, and I think that you're exploring a number of them. Eventually, the right one is gonna hit.
Well, I was trying to encourage the great thinkers in economics to jump on, but cannabis has too big a stigma right now, and that's what I say is the slave mentality, because even academics have been convinced because they don't know the science.
I thought that's what's so ingenious about Rick calling it hemp oil, although it has caused a bit of a confusion for some people. If they were just to open their eyes and listen to what's being said, they could make that distinction. But it also takes the stigma away long enough to hear it.
Right. No, I had someone the other day who was a smart person going, "You mean hemp and marijuana is the same thing?"
Well, if you never told that.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that cannabis is the original botany, term for it. But I mean, in the legal text, they use the word Indian hemp, but nobody knows it as that. So when you say it, at least the ears are open long enough to put the seed in there.
Right.
They want to shut it up, it still has a chance to grow.
Right.
So I like that about this term, and people hate it. I've seen so many people on my pages on YouTube telling me how, this is all wrong. They're talking about industrial hemp. People don't know the difference. Well, if you watched even 5 minutes of it, we've got either a picture of hemp oil or we're talking about it, and in reference to THC, at least it is on the first video, we're going to clarify the cannabinoid. There's over 60 cannabinoids on marijuana, and we have to just make sure people have.
That was Joe Barton talking to Christian Laurette, who's the producer of Run from the Cure. Run from the Cure is the Rick Simpson Story. It's about a man who was a very straight guy, never smoked a joint in his life, and he had a head injury. And after going through every pharmaceutical that there was and finding that it didn't work, somehow he saw somebody, Reefer Madness 2, some intelligent Japanese guy, I can't remember his name, and he talked about the medicinal effect of marijuana. So Rick Simpson got a joint, smoked it, and realized it made him feel better than any of the medicines he was getting. So his doctor would not give him a prescription. Even though it said that you could get prescriptions for medical marijuana, it turns out in most cases it's easier to win the lottery than to get one of these prescriptions. Unless, of course, you're in California and they have a whole nother set of problems. But anyway, Rick could not get a prescription. His doctor said it's because smoking's not good for you. And he said, what if I made it into an oil? And the doctor said, that's probably going to be more medicinal. So he made it into an oil. And he discovered that it helped he had tinnitus, ringing in the ears really, really badly. And it helped that. And then he found out he had skin cancer. He was operated on, it came back. And then he remembered on the radio in 1972 or 73 or 4, they were announcing that THC was killing cancer cells. So he assumed nothing happened with that, otherwise we would be cancer-free. But he remembered it long enough to say, hey, this oil has THC in it. So he put it on his skin cancers, and they came off in 4 days. Then he goes and tells his dermatologist. They freak out. He goes to the Canadian Cancer Society. I mean, he went to everybody. He went to the UN, and he was growing it in his backyard. He was up to 1,600 plants, and he was giving it away to everybody in town. And so in a nutshell, that's the Rick Simpson story. So I want to introduce my co-host, and that is Z Starman. Thank you for joining me on the show.
Thank you, Paula. It's a pleasure to be here.
The reason I wanted to include you is because in ancient traditions, the study of law, religion, and philosophy was one study. So whether you're studying about somebody's court trial, or whether you're studying how their body is healing, it goes by a science. And the tradition I'm most familiar with, Hinduism, talks about Jyotish, which means light, and that's what astrology is. And the idea is that you're having some bad aspects. There are things you can do to offset these bad aspects, to bring better vibrations into your life. And so that's kind of the nature of the discussion that I thought we could have. And please keep the numbers up so people know the number to call in. If you have that up at all times on the character generator, I think it is 212-757, I think 1393. Is that right? Can we get the CG up, Shanti? 212, great. So call in and, you know, let's see what's on your mind and whether you think marijuana is a good thing or whether you think it's a bad thing. Maybe you think it makes people lazy and non-productive. Well, how about astrology? Can't people get kind of addicted to astrology?
Say that again, repeat that.
Some people think astrology is a good thing, some people think it's a bad thing. I think it's knowledge, it's a power object.
Excuse me, I've been a professional astrologer for about 30 years now, doing it on a full-time basis for the last 5 years. Astrology is a tool whereas it can help you. There are people from all over the world who are into astrology and numerology like myself. And I find in present day, 2010, that more and more people are looking for alternative answers to the things that are happening in their lives. There's sort of we're in the age of Aquarius now. And the age of Aquarius is a universal type feeling, whereas we're looking from different directions for universal harmony, love, peace, and understanding.
Let's see a direction from a caller.
Okay.
Caller, are you with us? And do you have a question for Z Starman?
Yeah.
And maybe put up his CG while he's talking. Hi there. Caller, don't be shy. And do mute your television, because if you hear me through the television, there's a delay. Maybe we lost that caller.
Don't be shy, say hi.
Okay, sometimes churches have said astrology is the work of the devil, and I think they've probably also said that about plants. Could it be that authority wants to be respected and sees this as a threat, that people will be more self-empowered? Or could people understand that, like all power objects, they're formidable, like you've studied for many years? You don't just...
Well, it's funny that there are many references in the Bible about astrology. The first line of the Bible, Genesis 1:1, and it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And that's what astrologers do. We look at the heavens. The story of the three wise men, what was it that they were looking for when they was looking for the baby Jesus?
Right.
And there's an interesting...
Hang on just a second. Caller, are you there?
What was it that the three wise men from the Bible saw in the heavens? And a couple of years ago, the Hayden Planetarium, which is now the Rose Center for Earth and Space, they used to do this sky show to answer that question. And long story short, what they saw in the heavens was a conjunction or a grouping of planets in the heavens. Now, the difference between a star and a planet is simply this: stars twinkle, planets don't. Planets are luminaries, they reflect light. And so they knew as astrologers that at this moment in history or at this moment in time that it was something special happening. So there's all kinds of references in the Bible about astrology. Of course, we live in a world where things are misinterpreted. People are afraid of astrology. It's nothing to be afraid of. Some of the most famous people in the world have astrologers. And
of course. Regarding fear of objects, people also have fear of drugs. I had a fear of drugs, I realized. Because I learned how to meditate. I was using, can you put, oh, you got our number up? Oh no, that's his number. Can you put our number so that people can call us right now? Because I really want to see if we can engage Z Starman, because there's some interesting relationships between power objects and how we evolve. And I know that the viewers will have some interesting questions for you. By saying mantras, like when I started TM, they said, don't smoke any marijuana for 15 days. And you think, well, I figured it must be because it's sort of weak. But I still wanted to get a mantra because I wanted to supplement it with my experiments into higher states of consciousness. After I learned, I asked people, what would happen when you'd go back to smoking? And they said it was like it took you 2 weeks to regain that transcendental experience again. So I thought, 2 weeks, that's too long. So I waited decades. And then I'm realizing now it's not the cannabis, it's not the astrology, that's frightening. It's how it's used.
Right.
And if it's used properly, it is the science. There is no higher science than to know the arrangement of the stars, to know our position in the stars. An acupuncturist told me that there's 3 ways of treating a person. One is for the acute condition. The second is to sort of strengthen the immune system. But the most important is to line somebody with their dharma, that when they're doing their life's purpose, that's the healthiest thing that can be done.
It is. I mean, like, there are all kinds of natural ways, so to speak, to open up chakras in one's mind. And you can't be a grounded person to understand astrology or to understand numerology.
You have a call.
Okay, caller? Have you been following that last part of the discussion? You can't be a...
Okay, am I on now?
Yes, you're on.
Okay. Hey, Paula.
Yeah, put the mute. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question about actually my birthday, because I've heard different things about it, and I was wondering if I could get some assistance. My birthday is 1/11, and I've heard different things about it, and I was wondering if you might be able to tell me something.
Okay, your birthday is January 11th, what year?
54.
54. Now, I don't have my ephemeris in front of me, but just going off from the top of your head, or top of my head, your sun sign is Capricorn. And when it says that you're a Capricorn, that's only one part of you, astrologically speaking. You have to take all the planets into consideration, along with the time you were born and the city you were born. Now, you're born on January 11th. And just going from a numerology point of view, because I am an astrologer and numerologist, this is a number 6 personal year for you. And it's a year of responsibility. It's time for you to step up, take care of yourself, take care of your responsibility. It's a year of service. That's what the year is for you. But now, on another note, you're a master number 22. The sum total of your birthday, January 11th, 1954, adds up to the number 22. So you're in this lifetime, caller, to do special things, you're on a purposeful mission in life. One thing, your life is going to change dramatically over the next couple of years because Pluto is in the sign of Capricorn as we speak. And Pluto's energy, every planet in astrology has an energy, it has a job, and it has a focus, and it has a function. Now, Pluto is in the early stages of the sign of Capricorn right now, and you may have some other planets in the sign of Capricorn. So your life for the next couple of years, next 5 to 10 years, be prepared for drastic changes. Now, the thing with astrology and the thing with numerology, astrologers and numerologists, we're like weathermen. We see down the line. You know, just like the weatherman, if he tells you if it's Friday and he tells you it's going to rain on Monday or Tuesday, it's up to you to be prepared to take an umbrella. And that's what astrologers do. But what I'm telling you right now, caller, is be prepared for the drastic changes in your life. On the positive note, your life path number is a number 22. You're a 22 Capricorn person.
The reason I'm having the number there is you can call him for private consultations. I want to keep this more general.
Okay.
And try to think, why does the country seem to have resistance to the cancer cure, which is high concentrations of cannabis oil, THC, cures cancer. We have the studies, they've been down. Would you do an astrology chart and see that maybe there's some murkiness or conspiracy or deception? And then when an individual chart wants to play with that, how would you do that? Like, in other words, we do not have the blessings of the status quo on the cancer cure. We can look around, we can see studies that were suppressed. We can see people that are divided. There's a lot of confusion even in the cannabis movement itself. Won't talk about laws that empty the prisons. It's critical that the laws empty the prisons and that they empty the cancer wards. What would, you know, I presented this to Jane Goldberg, I said, because she's a psychoanalyst.
Okay.
What is the resistance of humanity, of the country?
Well, I mean...
Yeah, hey, Paul, should I clear the line so someone else can get on?
Yeah, do you but before you leave, let's put, yeah, great.
Okay, sweetheart.
But no, stay with me a second. Hello, have you already hung up?
No.
Okay. Do you understand, because I'm saying, what is the collective karma as seen by an astrologer, using this as an ancient science, so that we can understand how to overcome whatever the resistance is? Do you have any thoughts about that, caller? Or,
well, the country...
Well, the weird thing about this is as follows. Because when you mention the number 22, my old girlfriend from Italy was, I mean, everything was a 22. Her dress was 22. I mean, it was so weird.
But caller, what does your 22 have to do with your social contribution to move your society into a healthier direction, where you don't have victimless crimes, you know, supposed criminals who have no victims, sitting in cages? We're in the land of the free. My question to you is, if a 22 is a master number, wouldn't that be the kind of action to do this?
Well, just answering the caller's quick question, you know, some things, some numbers, they just follow you around. Now, your girlfriend, she said everything with a 22 follows her around, and she attracted you because your life path number is 22. Now, answering Paula's question, yes, is that we live in a society whereas we sort of kind of live in a Judeo-Christian society, whereas, you know, anything before 1776 doesn't make sense. And we live in a culture whereas if it's not coming from a pulpit, if it's not coming from a mosque or a synagogue, and you know, we're afraid. Or
from the AMA journals, because if Jesus was healing, there would be a science to it. So you'd expect to see this.
Association, those are one things, but again, just like astrology, just like numerology, I do believe that we have to start to look to alternative methods of healing, medicine, natural medicine, no matter where it comes from. And I believe that the cannabis theory that you have, I haven't tried it or anything like that, but it needs to be investigated. It needs to be the Food and Drug Administration, because it needs to loosen their grip on it, because there are a lot of people who are dying.
Right.
There's so many people who are dying. And the non-use of cannabis in healing, because it's a healing plant. The birds eat it, the squirrels eat it.
Even, you know, even recreational comes under the rubric of medicinal. It's good to be recreating.
But these are, I mean, these are things that if we are living in the age of Aquarius, And that's where we are now. We're not in the age of Pisces, where the old Christian guard and one man, one woman, one God, one country, all those are nice things, but people are dying. People are losing their sight. People are losing their health.
Oh, yeah.
And there are ways that I believe that can be used to cure people with cancer, with AIDS, with whatever, through medicinal purpose. And cannabis is an option that needs to be explored. Medical cannabis needs to be explored.
So, caller, does that make you happy? If you're still with us? Maybe.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, who is this?
This is Mark Houston, actually, and I'm actually would like to say that I love your shirt.
Me too.
You know what? I'm going to get a bunch of these shirts, and I'm not only wanting call-ins on this show, I want to have walk-ins so people can come down to 537 West 59th and speak in front of the camera themselves, and then pick up some T-shirts, because this is from New York Camp. That's New York Citizens Against Marijuana Prohibition. And what they're saying is, you know, I don't like to, you know, divide different drugs, because I even heard that opium is anti-tumoral.
Right.
But you know, you wouldn't wear a T-shirt that says New York loves crack, would you?
No, not at all.
Paula, what day is your birthday?
My birthday is on October 3rd.
You're October 3rd.
Yes.
What year were you born?
77.
77. One thing about this year for you, caller, is a great time for you to spend a lot of time alone.
Okay.
Get into meditation. I know, because Libra people, your sun sign is Libra. Anybody who wants to have a reading or anything like that, or a further consultation, call me after the show, call my number. But this is a year of spirituality for you. That's the emphasis. That's the theme. You're in a number 7 personal year this year. So spirituality, meditation, that's your greatest gift and greatest strength, because come October, becoming the beginning of October, you're going to be in a position to receive a lot of financial opportunities, but you need to meditate on it first.
Okay, cool.
You need to vibe on it first. And you're born 1976?
77.
1977. So next year, your destiny number is a number 8. And beginning in September of 2010, your destiny number and your personal years will start to coincide. This is a great year. 2011 could be a great year for you, but it's about planning. It is about meditation. It's about finding quiet time for yourself in order to prep yourself for the financial rewards that are possible. That's not to say to wait for it to fall in your lap. It's out to letting the opportunity happen for you as you speak.
So take Z Starman's number down, 646-712-9999.
I got it.
Great. And let's get another caller, because I just want to, you know, this information about the Joe Barton trial and Christian Laurette from Run from the Cure is so, it's so amazing that I think it's so important that we keep talking about it. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm eager for callers. What do you think about, like you said, you have to vibe on it with meditation? You know, that maybe people can have some aspects that show that this is a good time for them to explore spiritually, but they need to prepare themselves to do it?
Yeah,
maybe you can tip them off as an astrologer?
I believe so. We live in a helter-skelter sort of kind of society. And we eat bad foods, we have bad thoughts. We need to get positive, not only on an individual basis, but we need to get positive about where we are in 2010. As a people could collectively vibrate all this energy away, vibrate all the negative energy away. Everything begins with a thought.
I know we can vibrate a lot of that away. I know that.
Cool.
Great. Caller? Speak or forever hold your peace.
Oh, yes, hi.
Hi.
Okay.
You have to talk to us or we can't answer.
I think they have to turn down their sound also on the television set.
Oh, yeah, maybe mute your TV once we pick up. once you pick up. So where were we?
We're in a place in time. It's good news and bad news. The good news is that the universe wants to help us spiritually, but the bad news is that we're still holding on to the old guard of just not being willing to accept that there are alternatives. That's what I feel. I mean, like, you can pray things away. You can meditate things away.
But there's a science to it. There's an art to it. There's astrologers and there's astrologers. And I find that the best astrologers are the ones who have gone through their journey themselves. They know the breadth of life. They know the heartbreaks. They know the joys. They know it's a cycle. You know?
It takes a lot to be an astrologer or a numerologist. Astrology and numerology is easy to learn, but it takes a lifetime to master.
Right.
And in astrology, there's something called your Saturn return. And that's a once every 30 years type of thing. So Saturn is in the sign, it's in the last stages of the sign of Virgo. And Virgo is the sign of health and nutrition and work. So over the last 2.5 years, since August 2007, Saturn, the planet of restriction and limitation and crystallization, has brought to the planet, has given us opportunities to heal.
A crystallization and manifestation.
Yeah, we have opportunity to heal ourselves.
Wow.
As an individual. Now, the window is closing very quickly because Saturn is getting ready to go into the sign of Libra as we speak. So it's up to us. It's up to us as a people, shows like yours, shows like mine. I have a show also. It's to heal ourselves, or we're going to die. We're going to die collectively.
I want to thank you for being on my show.
Thank you, Paula.
I mean,
Thank you.
It's really been a pleasure. We're off air now, but I want to say, you know, I'll post this later.
Okay.
That I really like the idea of what you're talking about, that crystallization, because my next shoot now is going to be with Neil Goldsmith about psychedelic, and psychedelic means to manifest the psyche, to manifest the spirit.
Exactly.
And I want to explore with him why this is something that's both titillating, but it's also something that it seems that society runs from. So
sounds like a good show.
I hope in the future you can join us.